Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, Clutter Free Family on YouTube. I'm getting Instagram on. I just wanted to check my mic on um, this laptop and then make sure we're all good here before I got us onto Instagram. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, Clutter Free Family. Welcome to the Clarity Hotline where the answers are simple. I'm early. I know. So maybe this is a little bit of a test that we are going to see who's on at this time versus my normal 12 noon. Anybody else have to pick their kids up half day because it's first week of school? Yeah. So had to switch things up this week and possibly switch things up next week. So we'll see. Yeah, these school schedules are ridiculous the way they're just like minimum days whenever they feel like it. No, I'm kidding. But, my son started kindergarten today, and I just want to gush about him because he's just this amazing little soul, and I'm just so happy for him. And I hope the public school system serves him well. That's where he's at right now. That's what we've decided. And, we're going to see how it all works out. But I do love the school already. Enrollment was not without its frustrations, but we're getting through. We're gonna make it happen. I think it'll work out. I think it'll be great. But anyway, wanted to say welcome, welcome. Come on in. This is going to be a shorter one today because of time. I got to go get my little guy from his first day of kindergarten. I'm excited to see what he thinks of it and his new school and meeting new friends and all that. So it's really exciting. Maybe more for me than him. I don't know. But let's take our big deep breath in, big breath out, release, in, out. Anybody else's kids starting school and just need an extra breath in and out to settle some nerves. I was actually at the school this morning for a good hour, getting some final paperwork in. And so I think this is like the start of it. We're kind of learning how to be in a big school, no longer preschool. And I'm seeing a lot of the other parents just kind of, loving on their kids, and that makes me really happy. I love to see happy, good, strong families. Not that I know what's happening at home, but I just love to kind of witness the love between a parent and a child in any way, shape, or form. And so I know we're all doing our best. That's what I can tell from most of us, that, we're just doing our best. And as much as we can, we seek out the resources to do even better. Even though I don't like to say like do better, I think in this regard, it's kind of like we want to better our awareness around raising these individual souls. And so actually, I think in light of this, in this reality, starting school, this big deal of life, this big transition into a big school, I don't want to actually answer any questions today because we have a shorter time. I don't want to do any question a disservice. I actually have a question for you. What would you do if you knew deep, deep, deep inside your soul that your kid was a genius? What would you do? If you knew without the shadow of a doubt that your kid was a genius, what would you do? How would you develop their strengths, their talents, their skills? What would you do? I think you would go all out, right? And I think the minute we second guess that they're geniuses, just born geniuses in some regard, be it in writing, in art, in innovation, in science, in technology, in, I don't know, legislation, kind of in planning and in city, urban government, um, planning, like global relations, like there's some aspect of their character that they're equipped with the best of the best. And if we doubt that they are geniuses, then we start to pull back on the resources that we provide them to go their way, get along well on their journey. And I actually believe my sons are geniuses, and it's my job to usher them along, just walking side by side until they're off on their own, walking side by side, hand in hand, and just being there to be an ear, to listen, to offer my opinion on my years of life and give them maybe a leg up in that regard, as well as like building a legacy for them to have a leg up in life. This is all like part of my role as mother. I think our role as parents. And I think it's such a disadvantage. I think the beginning of a kid who doesn't have the resources to follow their genius, to go after their genius, is probably sign of a caregiver who doesn't trust themselves in the role of ushering a genius forward. I think it definitely comes down to like our own belief in our ability to parent this, be guardian of this soul moving forward in their journey. Because even if we were playing a video game of life and we're in a video game, you've heard me talk about this before, and I know there's a lot of people who think like life is just a video game. Maybe we're all just like characters in some video game, and whatever, maybe we are. What if we are? And if the video game is, I'm being played by somebody whose only objective is to win at life and not lose more lives and get to the end and experience the highest score, then I am all for it. Like if I'm a pawn in that game, I'm all for it, because maybe it's my son playing this game and he's like, okay, this is my mom and she's got to help me and she's my lifeline, and whatever. So I love that. I love that idea. And I'm here for it. Like this is, I think I think my son is a genius because he's just quirky. And I think as we get along in life, we're going to start to see where that kind of, fleshes out. And I don't know if you know or read anything about or saw any YouTube videos on Sam Ovens, co-founder of School Communities. He often references back, and is he a billionaire now? I don't know, a millionaire for sure, but well paid. And he loves what he does. He loves school. He loves enhancing school, making it better. And he always he references back when he was a kid, that he loved being on the computer. Like he shows a picture of himself, maybe, in his early teens, where he's like arm wrapped around the computer, and nobody hugs their computer. And he notices that nobody takes a picture with their computer hugging it, but he did, because he had such a love for this machine and all of its capabilities. And maybe he saw even beyond like that. It was maybe like a Steve Jobs kind of thing, where it's like, I know that this idea behind this machine and how it operates could be more. It's a gateway for more. And obviously, like that, he said he had the computer even before the internet. And so it was like even before he could get online, AOL, dial-up, modem, like before he could do that, he loved this machine. And I'm sure it was like, maybe video games and stuff like that. But then it became forums and chat rooms and searching the web. I don't know when Wikipedia came around, but like, when encyclopedias were completely extinct because of Wikipedia and Google, he kind of, was there for it all, and he saw it all. And I think, not saying that, my son is is in that lane, but he's in his own lane. He is in a lane. And I think we start to get so hyper fixated on like society standards and um, what teachers want of our kids, what teachers maybe are frustrated with our kids. And I think that would be the only reason I could see maybe bringing him home to be homeschooled would be if there's just a really big disconnect between the administration, the faculty, and everything with regards to helping him flourish. If there's ever a disconnect there, I would pull him out so fast. And because in my gut, I just really need to trust the school where he's at has his best interest in mind. And so if that means I'm getting involved, if that means I'm getting to know the faculty, the staff, like friends, getting to know first names, I'll do it. And it's not for because I love people. I love to be friends with people. I love to chat and be social. So it wouldn't only be self-serving. It's like, what can I do for you? What can I do for the school? How can I help? So it would be from that angle. But it's also, I recognize that I've never called myself an activist. I don't consider myself an activist unless it has to do with my kids. For my kids, I'll walk on Washington. Like I'll march on Washington and I will, you know, hold up my picket sign and ask for whatever resources and, is necessary for them to have. And because I love kids. I love kids and the potential that they hold and what they represent for our future, in a way that's that there's promise there, right? And I just don't want to squash that. So I don't know. Maybe I mean, am I an activist? I don't know. We'll see. I just never pictured myself that, but I am an advocate for these kids. And that's just full stop, period, point blank, done. You know where I stand. Never a question about it. I was raised by the ultimate mama bear. My mom would do anything to protect us. She was always my go-to with every little concern come home. And, she was just always gave me the right advice, and then if ever she needed to talk to the principal, she was there first thing, knocking down the door, sitting in the waiting room, waiting to be heard. And I'm sure that's where it comes from. It definitely was born from that place of feeling cared for, taken care of. And then my dad was always, was the coach of my basketball team and my brother's basketball and football teams. And so I always had that engagement from my parents. And so that is without a doubt my upbringing. And that is what I want to provide for my kids. It's where my mama bear instincts come from for sure. From what I saw. And so, yeah, I think we just, if we believe in ourselves enough to believe in them, that they are geniuses in whatever lane that is, and we're just here to help cultivate their exposure to the resources, the skill building, the influences, the helping hands, the coaches, the tutors, the teachers. Those people were kind of pointing the way to get those resources for them. Then let's do it. Let's make sure, we do that. And, we just kind of go from there. We hope for the best. And, I don't love the word hope and it's nuanced to my belief around hope, but we strive for the best. And I'll be honest, this is, hi, Craig. This is such a big deal, that, I dropped him off at school and it actually was a school that was my number one choice for him, at least right now. And, I could see him going all the way to 8th grade here. And what's cool about that is I put out the intention that he would go there, and we did not make the lottery early on. So I thought he was going to a different school, and it was just like, okay, we'll deal with it. But he got in last minute. They accepted him. They had room. And I just have always manifested the schools that I wanted to go, that I wanted to attend. I've been to every single school I wanted. My number one pick was always the school I was able to attend, got accepted, went in. For him, I guess we're repeating the cycle of manifestation. And if I can use my awareness and my connection to insight and intuition, then I will, and I will do my best to get him where I think is best. I mean, because it's all based on perspective. Maybe he won't love it, and then I'll have to reconsider other options and find what he loves, what he does love. Because what do I know, really, right? I can only make decisions from my own reference point, my own understanding, and obviously whatever's within my capability to provide for him. That is all that I can do, right? That's all we can do as parents. That is what we're that those are the cards we're dealt, and that's what we can do. That's how we can march forward, right? To the beat of our own drum, and then we have his drum, and then we've got to like sync it up and definitely default to the beat of their drum for their own lives. That is absolutely what I believe, that we have to default to the beat of their drum. And we can have ideas and we can have preferences for their lives, but it definitely is not our lives to live. But I did think about this, because on the level of genius, I know I'm kind of speaking to somebody who's thinking Einstein level genius, because I did. When I thought, I was like, man, this guy is a genius. I think he's smart. I think he's aware of himself. I think he fights for himself and his rights, even as young as 5. I think he understands when someone's being mean or harsh with him. He understands language so well. He loves stories to be read to. I'm sure he's going to love to read. He's kind of ravenous for books, and like I am. So I definitely want to support that. That has opened up a world for me, to love reading. I just really want that for my kids. I want them to love reading. So we'll see if they do. I want to nurture that, foster that. I actually had a tutor, because when I was younger, my mom had a tutor. She'd come to our house and she'd sit with me and we'd practice reading and comprehension, because I really struggled with comprehension, like reading something and then having the questions asked about what I read, and like trying to make sense of like, well, where do I find that? And I didn't read that. How can I answer that question? I don't understand. And I remember having my tutor, and even one of the books we read, that I still have to this day, because I remember sitting at the dining room table, sitting next to her, and she was, helping me read. I just remember the feeling. I don't remember what else we did or where, anything. I just remember sitting there. I remember sometimes the garage door opening and my parents going in and out, and, trying to stay engaged, and reading this book and like feeling successful, like having good reports to give my mom about, like, I understood the book today and I learned this and that, and reading began, vocabulary for me, like a love of vocabulary, love of language. I love languages. I know 3 languages. I want my kids to know 3, 5, 6, 7 languages. I'm not even done learning languages. I want to learn others. And that I think, it's kind of started there. But I will say that, I want the best. I think that is a big factor in like how far we push ourselves as parents in this life to, reach our own dreams, because like I said in the beginning, that gives our kids the leg up on their dreams. And however much I can provide for them, I want to. and I don't want to be limited in how much and how far I can go to provide for them. And I think that's a lot of why I love entrepreneurship, because of the how big the capacity is, that container for wealth and opportunity and connection, uh, and influence, right? Meeting people, networking with people that I never would have known if I was in one job. And this is my own experience, in one job at one place with the same people every day, having an entrepreneurship like vantage point of being able to like pick and choose where I go, and conferences that I attend, and places I travel to, where I can work from, being independent, right? In that regard, that I definitely also want to help my clients get, right? My students, my clients get to that place where they're experiencing financial independence, time, money, freedom, all the dreams of their heart. Because when they have that, that's confidence. That's confidence that's gonna back them as a parent, so that they can be in a good mental state to provide for their kids. And I don't think that you only need money to get there. Absolutely not. We have the power to get clear and connected to our purpose and patience, presence, awareness, to be a great parent, regardless of our physical state, regardless of the environment where we're in. We can have the mental state that gives them the best of the best. And that is my belief, hands down. Do I think the environment affects us? Absolutely. Do I think our upbringing affects us? Absolutely. But it's also just a reference. It's a reference point that we know, and we use it to maybe turn our dial on our compass to go the direction of what feels better, what feels good. And if that is just like, we don't need to dive down the rabbit hole of our past. We don't need to go back in time and understand everything that was wrong. And this is my opinion, and all the traumas. It's good to kind of know that that happened. It's good to not be in denial in any way. So I think going down the rabbit hole of understanding, what happened to us, and how we are the way we are now because of it, maybe, um, that it's just information. It's just information that now, with that understanding of who and where we are, what do we do now? What now? What do I want now? And so that contrast, right? That polarity, that duality of like, okay, that's what I had. Maybe I didn't love it. And now I want this, right? It's kind of like I want different. And so you recognize what feels different, what feels good compared to that, what feels better. And then what was good about our upbringing, about our past, about whatever, we've been through, what feels good, then it's like, okay, well, now I'm a magnet for more of that, because I recognize, oh, well, that was good. Right. And everything that we have in our lives that we're grateful for, we're tapping into the wavelength of like having more to be grateful for. Right. I'm sure you've heard it. Um, appreciation appreciates, or something. It's like what we appreciate. So we find more to be grateful for, because we're tuned into that, right? The wavelength of gratitude just gives us more to be grateful for, because we see the good, right? We see the good. And once you see the good in those rose colored glasses, then you can see more good. You can see the good in people, you could see the good in things, and you are just a magnet to have more good come into your life. And so if you believe that you're a good parent, if you come from that place of, I'm a good parent, and with all your might, you believe. And I know there's some second guessing. Sometimes there's doubt and guilt. I for sure felt it when I was like, oh, I submitted the wrong form for my kid's kindergarten enrollment. This is like such a big deal for me. And I screwed up a form. And so he started a day late. That was like, I felt a lot of guilt around that. And of course, the admin, the faculty is like, don't worry, we're going to get it. together, and it's all going to work out. Um, and granted, I'm like kind of scrambling last minute because we got notified late that we were in this school, and so everything just kind of shifted, had to shift, and so everything had to get picked back up again. New enrollment papers, all that stuff had to get picked back up and resubmitted online, and online portals, don't you love them? But it's that whole thing was happening, and so I felt guilty because I was like, oh man, I didn't do something right for him. And so I know that I'll probably always struggle with that guilt. It's the worst. But it's also just kind of a sign that, okay, stay woke, get up, figure this out. Okay. And it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. You maybe feel some guilt. And so that makes you take a step back, like, okay, is it all good? Is it all good? Did I screw up his life forever? And then you're like, no, you didn't. And you have a partner that tells you, no, you didn't screw up. It's good. It's going to be okay. Also, very good to have that support, just backing you in, you're doing your best. But anyway, I just think like if we believe we're good parents, then we will rise to the expectation of being good parents. And I think, why not? Why wouldn't we want to rise to the expectation of ourselves as a good parent? Not because we want to avoid guilt or feeling like we're not super mom, super dad. That is so irrelevant. It doesn't matter the days where we're not feeling our best. Those will come and go, but ultimately we can believe that we're good parents. Ultimately, we can believe we're good parents because we're always going to have that as our gauge, our meter to compare ourselves against, our own personal gauge, that I'm a good parent. And when you tell yourself that, then you can come from that place of like, what would a good parent do right now? What would a good, honest, trustworthy, reliable, loving, aware, connected, attentive parent do right now? And, we're going to come face to face with all the problems that make us believe that we're not good parents. But if we can bounce right back to, no, I'm a good parent. No, I'm a good parent. Then the chatter that's inside that wants to tell us we're not a good parent and then have us reduce our level of excellence in being a good parent won't be there. The volume won't be that loud on the inside of a parent who's telling themselves, I'm a good parent, I'm a good parent, I'm a good parent, I'm a good parent. Then the volume of the things that want to get in our way and have us pull back on the throttle of being a good parent, doing our best every single day, showing up, being attentive, being loving, being present and patient, won't be louder than the things that tell us we are that we are patient, we can be present right now, we can take a breath, we can step back and, okay, let me recognize what's happening here, what's the situation call for, how can I show up? Then, okay, we can kind of like recalibrate with that person that we know ourselves to be. So I just want to, I guess this is a pep talk for all the parents out there, to tell yourself you're a good parent and see what that does to your own momentum in providing for your kids, doing everything you can. Because I think even if we're doing everything we can, maybe we have two jobs. We're holding two jobs down. We have after school programs, extracurriculars. We're taking our kids places, bringing them on trips that show them the world. We're fighting to get into the good school. We show up to bake sales, PTA meetings. We're doing all that, but still in the back of our mind, we don't believe we're good parents. All of that effort is diminished by that energy. That propulsion, that energetic propulsion forward into the good parent realm is dwarfed, right? And like the kids are going to feel that. The kids are going to feel that. And and then they're going to start to question themselves. They're not going to question you as a parent. They're going to question their worthiness of having a good parent. I hope that's settling and that's landing somewhere, because I'm doing my best to give you my perspective on it, because I haven't ever really voiced this before. And so it's brand new in the ether. I'm putting it out there. It's brand new. And I hope it lands. I hope somebody walks away saying, and even comments that, okay, I am a good parent. I am a good parent. And it's okay to say that you're a good parent out loud to the world. And even before you state the problem, I'm a good parent. And this happened. This happened and I'm dealing with it. I got him into school a day late. And so he didn't meet his friends the first day, and whatever icebreaker they did, he missed out on. All the things that I'm thinking of that put him at a disadvantage because of something that I did. It feels awful. But then I also know that, well, what if he missed out on a bad day at school? What if he missed some difficulties on that first day that would have challenged his belief in himself? I don't know. We don't know. And the whole point is we won't ever know. But we can do our best. We can show up. We can be the good parent, send out the good parent energy. And that's not a superiority complex. That's not putting myself above others. That's me standing in awareness of my child. And it's not my job to judge my child or judge how he gets along in this world. It's my job to back him in this world, to back his ability, his belief in himself, his confidence, his self-esteem, like back him, not in a way that puts anybody else down, but just reminds him of who he is, reminds him why he's here on this planet. What does he love to do? Well, how can you look at this situation differently? Well, what else is also true about this situation? Yeah, you got in a fight at school. Well, what else is also true? What happened to make you feel like you needed to do this today, to resort to this? What made you feel bad about yourself to come from a place where you had to defend yourself against someone else? And I think that's the telltale sign of like disrepair, like something that just needs attention. And we can repair by connecting with our kid, and we can repair what's the breakdown there. Because the minute our kid feels they need to defend themselves, it's the minute they're not confident in everything being all good. Everything being all good. Whoever's opinion doesn't define me. And I think we're all still learning this, right? We all learn it. Even as adults, we're still kind of learning like, well, that your opinion doesn't make me who I am, doesn't diminish what I believe about myself. Your opinion of me, all the haters out there, all the trolls that want to be online and to say something about somebody who's putting themselves out there, because I see it a lot. I read all the comments I see it. We all see it, right? And even if it's funny for a second, even if it's like, oh, the first thing that came to your mind, you wanted to say that, and maybe it hurt the person who was being super vulnerable online and coming out with their truth, and and they're cringing at the comments about something they put online. And the reason why this is so timely and very relevant is because we're in the age of social media. So your kids starting right now in kindergarten, Gen Alpha, recognize that social media is their world. And so we've got to get around how to help them navigate that, how to help them navigate everybody having an opinion about what they do, more so than just the, people in their class. it's like so many more people have eyes on what and how they are and what they do and their choices and things like that. Everyone's going to have an opinion. And that is such a global perspective, right? That they've got to kind of come into, I don't know, come into some understanding of. And, okay, well, this is our new challenge. And I read a reel somebody had posted about, having screen time too early and too long does increase the depression rate for girls and boys, or their advancement into, like the dark web of life. And it it just kind of propels them faster and more furiously into that world. And I will say this, I think every generation will deal with that. I remember when I was a kid, for my generation, magazines and TV for sure was the thing. And every generation is going to have the thing that everyone's going to say is the reason we've got depressed kids. And I think it's always going to boil down to, when met with those influences, magazines, TV, radio in the 50s, 60s, whatever, music, right? Wasn't music the devil in the 60s? Rock and roll was the devil. Hip hop in the 90s. It's like these are always going to be there. It's just going to be new generation, new devil to conquer and rally against and fight against, stand up against, right? There's always going to be that. And I think for our kids right now, social media is a big culprit, a big problem that we are facing and contending with. But the skills of self-awareness, self-confidence, knowing who you are, standing in your truth, not being afraid to voice it, and not back down from your truth, not in a way that you have to defend your truth, but just stand in the knowing of, well, and you have your opinion too, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't need to fight you for your opinion. And some people will disagree with me wholeheartedly. No, you have to get in there and fight, get in the ring and fight against that belief. And I guess this is where I'm not an activist. I don't believe in perpetuating, defending a mental construct. And I know you'll catch me defending at some point. You will catch me in some type of hypocrisy, because I will defend my kid tooth and nail. There are some things that are just ridiculous that parents want to defend their kids for, and they know it's wrong. And yes, the kid should be expelled. We know that. We know that. And that's just, I wouldn't be that mom. But there are the skills that we still need to impart to our kids around self-awareness, around trust, around following your bliss, pursuing your passion, and just giving them the tools that make that okay. And that's not, I don't believe it has to be, that's not a privileged standpoint. That is just getting self-aware enough to impart the tools that you believe will keep them self-aware. And everyone has their own perspective on that. And that's why this world will always be dynamic with with diverse opinions and influences, people in office, people out of office, people on the picket line, people not on the picket line, people in the stands, watching, observing, judging, people cheering. we're always going to be faced with such a robust diversity of opinion. And that is what it boils down to. And the headlines will say everything and anything to get the click. The headlines will say everything and anything to get the ratings. When we understand that that's all that is, it's fueled by money, it's fueled by power, greed, then okay, we can recognize it for what it is and not make it say something about us, not make it mean something about us, which just something that's happening in the world. And that I know opens up a whole can of worms. There's like this economic side of life that you want to instill into your kids, like that understanding of economics. There's education, there's emotion, right? Understanding, being emotionally intelligent. There's that, and I believe I was raised like with such an economic, from an economic standpoint, where it's like, you know, oh no, we're too broke. We're broke and we can't afford that. We can't go there. We can't do that. We're too broke. We don't have the money for that. Yet, I did go on trips with my parents. We did do things. We did have enough, right? In their perspective. And I'm sure I fought against like, well, I want this and I want that. And no, we can't afford that. We can't buy that. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? So there's like this, that was my economic standpoint. Now I believe money does grow on trees. Money does grow on trees. And it's my job to recognize that money does grow on trees. And even in the fact that it's paper, right? We can even go there. But like money does grow on trees because money is just energy. And just like nature, it grows and it comes and it's abundant and it's flourishing. And maybe sometimes it's not. Sometimes it needs to settle down and it's winter and it's hibernating and we're just maintaining and it's not coming as fast. Well, that's also a season and that's also okay. And that's also steady. I mean, would you ever call the 4 seasons not steady? What they are is consistent. They come regardless of how it looks in where you live. Spring, summer, winter, fall, winter come and they look how they look, and it's cold or it's not. Like that is what is constant, right? And so we can't say that that's not steady. That is very steady. And that's all we need to do is try to be that steady force and believe that provision is there. Believe that what we want, there's plenty of, and there's plenty for everyone. And this is the beginning of the mind state that will bring to you more of that truth. And so with that same kind of shift in perspective, that same reframing of thought, we can believe, okay, I am a good parent. I am a good parent. I know this happened and I'm a good parent. And I think what we do sometimes, unfortunately, is like we might stifle the genius in our kids unknowingly. And that I think is also where guilt will come from if we like kind of have the hindsight to see, oh my gosh, I didn't recognize that fast enough that they needed this from me. Well, we can stifle that growth. Thank you. We can stifle that growth for our kids and call it education. Call it, oh, we're just teaching them something. We're putting them in school, and that teacher could be like super backed by this, convicted on this thought and this opinion and be teaching that to these kids, unbeknownst to the parents, what's happening in school. And I think that's my control freak coming out in me. I want to know everything my kid is learning. So I might have to bring them home and school them at home. As much as I don't want that for them, I want them to have the social, the social aspect of being around other kids and being around other adults. And I say that now, and who knows, tomorrow I might think differently when, he comes home with something that makes me really mad. And I know a lot of kids, a lot of parents are pulling their kids out of school because it is a dangerous, dangerous world out there. It's a big, bad world, and public schools are pushing the agenda of, the government, who knows, and whatever. We're just pawns in the game. We're just pawns in the game, and it's our job to make sure our house is in order. And by our house, I mean ourselves. This what I can control is what I have to make sure is in order, for me and for my kids, for my family, for my household, right? Um, that's all we can. That's all we can do. Anyway, I better end because I got to go pick up this little kindergartner from his first day of kindergarten. And thanks for staying for my rant. Thanks for hearing me out. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Is your kid a genius? Why? Why? Don't tell me why not. Tell me why. Tell me why they're a genius. I would love to hear it. And I didn't even get into all the reasons why I think my kid is a genius. But it's my job to support him, and it's your job to support your geniuses and do what you can. All right. You're doing your best. We got this. Okay, fam. We out. See you next week, Thursday. Maybe earlier than 12 noon Pacific, whatever. I'll do my best to let you know. But we'll be back on our regular schedule in 2 weeks, if not next week. Okay. Peace. All right, YouTube. Thanks for being on with me. See you next week.